In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 45 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Boulder in Colorado talking with Alan Clarke. Alan is Chief Strategy and Project Director for Ayyeka. Ayyeka provides an end-to-end solution with the hardware, software, and artificial intelligence needed to create resilience in water, energy, and environmental infrastructure. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Alan, thanks for being our first guest on the Swell Pod, the Kiln Road Trip in Boulder.
Yeah.
We're nearing 50 interviews, and we're so glad that you could be here today.
Good. Yeah, great to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here at Kiln, and there's always something fun going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, have you seen the van outside?
I have. Yeah.
So we'd love you to write. We'll give you a chalk pen and maybe write a message on there for us. That would be fantastic.
Definitely, yeah.
For our listeners, could you introduce yourself and what you do, and maybe what your focus is?
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Alan Clarke, and we're a company that focus on IoT and AI for solving environmental issues.
Yeah. Can you
Just give us an example of maybe what that looks like
Okay.
from an environmental issue standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's over 10,000 cities worldwide, and each of those cities need to collect information to mitigate their environmental impact. And we support these cities in collecting that information and processing that information to help mitigate their environmental impacts.
So data and understanding, and then is there a solution that you're provide, like beyond the data and analysis? Is there an additional related to IoT that you're also providing back to the cities, for example, or?
Yeah, so we start out with collecting the information in the field. We have this device. It's a very simple box that's got it's got more or less everything inside. It's got its own telemetry. It's got its own battery. It's got its own IoT edge computer, and we can connect any sensor in the world. There's a lot of good companies out there making very specific sensors and very specific tools for measuring, but we take that information from any device and send it from here via telemetry to a cloud platform where we process the information and we create the reports for the clients. In there as well, it's like any report or any model, good data in, good report or good model. And so that's where our AI comes in. Our AI looks at all of those streams of data coming in from all those various sensors and helps identify issues with the data. We've characterized this data as, or these issues, there's 6 key types of issues, and our AI is trained to look for those issues and flag them and present options to fix that data for the operators.
Oh, that's incredible. That's really cool. And how long, so were you with the founding group of the company?
No, the company was founded over 10 years ago in Israel by two tech guys, Ariel and Yair. Those guys founded in their back garage. They started out very small. Yair, his issue was his bike kept getting stolen, he decided, he was an electronics guy. He decided he was going to build a little GPS tracker to go on his bike, and so he built this device, fitted it on his bike, and he was able to see where his bike was going. And this was 10, 12 years ago. And so he liked it, but he said it's ridiculous. It costs more than my bike.
So more valuable bike. Yeah.
So he decided his mission was to reduce the cost of a tracking device, a telemetry device, and then he brought on some friends, Ariel and whatever, and they got together and they created this very, very unique device that can take almost information from any sensor on the market and send it up to the cloud. And it's got the GPS built in, those same features. You know, they needed the low battery consumption, the GPS, the connectivity. So yeah, that's how they started out.
That's amazing. And how long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company for about a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So although I've been with the company for a year, I've been working with the company for almost 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So I had a company in South America that focused on environmental monitoring. And I came across this company as a great solution for my problems in my work in South America. And so when I found this, I was like, okay, this is a great solution. I adopted this as my standard product for collecting environmental data in South America. And so then I sold my company in South America and moved up here, and they said, well, what are you going to do now? And that's when I took this position to tackle the US market. Yeah.
That's amazing. Very cool. And so maybe just take us back a little bit, help us understand who you are and kind of what led you up until this point from, childhood all the way up to now.
First of all, I was born in Ireland, about halfway between Dublin and Belfast, a small town. And in school, I was looking at the tech industry in Dublin and thinking, I'd love to work there. And so very early on in school, I applied to Intel, applied for a job in Intel, and years upon years later, I just got a call for an interview. And I was like, okay, this is good. And so I went up, and they needed so many technicians and support people. They said, okay, when can you start? Like it was the quickest, easiest interview ever. And so within a week, I'd started with Intel. I was working in Intel as an install technician, working on the systems that build the Pentium processors back then. And so, my job was wiring the machines for building the Pentium processors. And so I did a vocational electromechanical degree with Intel. And after that, I traveled multiple countries and set up little companies here and there, but met my wife in London. She was doing a master's degree in energy. We ended up going down to Peru in South America with the German government for an internship style job. Was there for 6 months, saw a lot of opportunities, and ended up with zero Spanish, setting up my own company in South America in Peru. And that company grew to be, a pretty nice, small, niche, 25-person engineer consultancy company doing environmental monitoring for heavy industry in South America.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that's kind of the very quick version of the story.
And that's the one you sold?
That's the one I sold, about 2.5 years ago now,
So what got you into your interest in environmentally friendly products and monitoring? How did that begin?
So I think, it started out with my brothers and sisters building dams in our rivers at the back of the house, I suppose. That's when I got into hydrology and nature and all that. I lived in the countryside. And so after then working with Intel and seeing all the technology and interesting innovations there, I suppose I've always been interested in technology and hydrology and environmental monitoring. And so that's kind of what led me into my work in South America, more so setting up a company that was just all of my passions rolled into one. I suppose I didn't really think about profit back then. I just thought about doing what I enjoyed doing, what was fun, what was innovation, what was, just kind of playing with sensors and equipment is what I love doing. But there was a big need for that in South America. And so the company caught on pretty fast and pretty good. I worked with all of the biggest companies in the world really down there, like all the largest companies in the field. So it was really nice. Yeah.
So just tell me, I know you may have already covered this, but just tell me the impact that, say, that company and this company now is having on the environment. Like, what's your typical kind of user case or company that's coming along? Yeah.
Okay. So I think a good example of the impact that our equipment or my company had on the environment in South America is when we went down there first, companies weren't measuring or monitoring because they said it was just cost prohibitive or it was impossible. They said there's no technology out there that can do that. And so even large companies, like I worked with EDF of France, the French government, one of the largest power producer in the world, they said, no, that can't be more or less measured. And I said, well, it can. There is technology out there. It's new, it's innovative. But if it's applied correctly, we can measure these parameters, and we can do it in a way that is, that is feasible, cost feasible and technically feasible. So we did a lot of very, very complicated projects because we are small and agile, that bigger companies just would have said, that's just too much. That we're not going to go into all this R&D and testing and complicated work. And so we took on these really challenging, unique projects. And I think, it just goes to show when there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. So,
that's great. And then before we're going to ask, I think, about your challenges and maybe the vision of where this company's going. Yeah. But just so I should know this, but just tell me the impact of like that measuring then of this company or the company that you sold. Like, what does it mean to the environment? Like,
well, there's a saying: what we cannot measure, we cannot control, and we want to control our environmental impacts. And if we don't have information that is of high value, high confidence information, we can't control our issues. And every day, our impact on the earth is getting stronger and stronger. We have a lot of targets that we're not meeting. And if we're going to get this under control, we got to have good data, good understanding, and implement good actions to mitigate these impacts.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're really able to also avoid catastrophes or things that if you're measuring, you know where the baseline is and you know what's happening.
Sure.
Improvements or maybe things that are making things worse.
Yeah. What can't be measured can't be controlled.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so Spencer mentioned we're going to hop into the challenges. And so from a strategic perspective, like what are some of the bigger challenges that you're facing right now and trying to tackle, trying to overcome?
I think one of the challenges is it's an ever-changing environment. We've had 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Now we're going into a lot of low Earth orbit satellite, and it's just always keeping up with the latest technologies. You can't just develop a product and say, we're done. You always got to innovate. You always got to be on not on the bleeding edge, but on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
And so we just got to keep innovating. And, as we expand into new industries, we need to adapt the product, the features, and even the pitch in order to make it effective. Yeah.
Can you give us, if you can, like a sneak peek into some of the innovation or some of the future of where you're headed?
It's pretty interesting, but I think any large conversation related to technology and telemetry starts. Elon Musk comes into it, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been waiting on the Cybertruck for how long? But 2.5 years ago or so, Elon Musk spoke with T-Mobile about a new project that's called the Above and Beyond project. I think it's Above and Beyond project, where they're planning to put low Earth orbit satellites with LTE connection or like cellular connection. And so many companies are developing satellite capable devices, but all of this is potentially going to be obsolete because even your own conventional mobile phone, according to his publications, will be able to connect to his low Earth orbit satellites. And so what this means is that anywhere on Earth, we will be able to get cellular connectivity without the need for the traditional sort of satellite connections. It's going to be an LTE connection directly from your phone. And so as a company, we were like, okay, we can go and develop satellite capabilities, but we do that and it's potentially obsolete in a 1.5 or 2 years. So their launch date for their low Earth orbit LTE is supposedly the end of 2025. Hopefully it's not as long as the Cybertruck, but if it comes out, it would be nice that our devices that are currently limited to cellular will be available anywhere on Earth. We could install this literally anywhere.
Yeah, it's exciting. Really cool.
Yeah, he does tend to do that. Like continue to say dates, but he's serious about action, right? So that it's going to happen.
He does.
Probably. Yeah, it's a matter of when.
I see him as like his ethics. I'm not going to go there, but what he has achieved is astounding. He's
very impressive.
He's tackled the car market, he's tackled the internet market, he's tackled all these different markets and beat everybody at it. So it's really impressive what he's doing.
Is that satellite technology the same as what he provided to the Ukraine?
Yeah,
or is it something different?
Yeah, so that's the Starlink system, and so it's a ground-based little dish that tracks the satellites and gives internet. The thing is that needs to be constantly tracking, and it's about 1 foot by 1 foot squared.
Okay.
But getting this into connecting to the existing technology in your mobile phone is where it's at. That's going to be really amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And so what is so we're at Kiln. What is the role? What is the role? What's Kiln's role for you?
Yeah.
And the work that you do.
It's not just a seat where I work. It's an ecosystem of very, very ambitious, very interesting people. If I've got any sort of questions, or if I want to hash something out, there's always somebody around that is very passionate about that subject, and just being able to bounce ideas of somebody is really important to me. And so in this ecosystem, there's a lot of people that are very passionate about technology, about business, about marketing. There is a startup culture feel, so that's really fun. And then it offers me everything from just having a simple seat to work at, but when I start to grow out my team, I can grow here with ease. I had my team over from Israel 2 weeks ago.
Here.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So our president come over, our CEO come over, and I was able to give them a very nice meeting room. They were impressed. A very nice place to host the meetings, and very comfortable. Everything, nice and professional. And so I'm able to scale very quickly as needed here. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at Kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's Kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Campervans, a luxury campervan rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra Campervans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus Station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
And enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode. So the last question that we like to ask all the people that are participating in this crazy journey is, what does it take to take an idea and create a movement, create something that's never existed before? I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think you need to have something that is good for humanity in general.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do something that is not good for humanity in general, everybody's just looking for a paycheck, not a path, it's very hard to be passionate about something that is against humanity. Yeah. So I feel that what we're doing has a potential to have a massive positive impact on the world, and so why not follow that? Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great podcast. I know we've got something for you.
Oh yeah.
We really appreciate you being on.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Guys. It was a real pleasure. Good to meet you, and thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.